Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. It's September 24th, 2013. I'm Logan Burgess. To my right here is Brock Shimbino to help break down the action that we saw here on a relatively quiet trade day in the grains on a Tuesday. Jumping into fire tip, we see corn down 4.5 cents for December delivery. Soybeans finding a little bit of ground here today again, up 4 1/4. Chicago wheat up 4 1/4. Kansas City leading the way higher, up 6 1/4. And you know, Brock, wheat has really kind of been a story here the last couple days. Starting off this week, Monday, we had exceptional export inspections. In our mind right now, wheat exports are about 90 million bushels ahead of the pace needed to meet USDA expectations. And today we had some news that Argentina suffered a pretty strong freeze there overnight. So both those factors kind of combined here to once again give some strength to the wheat market. Take a look here at a daily chart on that December Chicago wheat contract. The blue line here is a 50-day moving average, which has done a pretty good job of capping this trade really since about June. But take a look here. With today's trade, it does look like we may be poised for a little bit of a breakout here. Certainly technical traders are going to look at this as an indication that the trend in wheat has been is changing, and certainly that trend has been down for really the last several months. One thing that's going to really dictate wheat prices, though, is the wheat production report on Monday, and additionally the quarterly grain stocks report. Brock, I know we got some expectations for that here today. Kind of what's the story here on that quarterly grain stocks report?
You know, we do have a couple of big reports coming up on Monday. We do get the quarterly grain stocks and the small grains production summaries. If you take a look at this table here, this is the average of the analyst guests that were polled by Reuters earlier today. You can see that first column, the average guess, is what they are projecting for the quarterly grain stocks to be shown by the USDA on Monday. I think the real important column to relate to that average guess is what the USDA showed last September 2012, into relation to what they are projected to show this September. Yeah. If you take a look at corn, we're looking at a substantial reduction there in quarterly stocks, down by about 300 million bushels there. Soybeans down by about 40 million bushels, and wheat taking a hit by about 200 million bushels there. So, you know, those numbers are going to be what's going to be driving the trade on Monday, and probably up until the USDA WASDE report in October. But I think the big number to really watch is going to be that soybeans ending stocks for now.
Yeah, certainly we know the soybean crop in particular is relatively tight here that we're going to be getting out of the fields. But I guess, is that the reason why people are really going to be honed in on that soybean quarterly stock number?
You know, if we do get a big deviation from what the corn projected ending stocks are going to be, I don't think that's going to put have a big effect on the market. Like you said, we do have, you know, good production coming in for corn. Soybeans, you know, the question is going to be the production. How much are we going to have to replenish those already pretty low stocks? If we come in quite a bit lower than what the average of the analyst guesses, this really could put the market on fire, especially for that soybean market.
Yeah, certainly. So we have a big report coming out on Monday, and as you said, October 11th, we get another WASDE report. But really one big thing that's going to continue to dictate the price action over the next couple weeks is harvest progress. And yesterday in the show, we highlighted the USDA numbers that showed, you know, understandably with how late this crop was planted, we're well behind where we typically see harvest for corn and soybeans. But we got some maps out today from Planalytics that certainly do show that this crop, even in northern states, is reaching maturity pretty rapidly. This map shows greenness between the beginning of September and kind of the middle of September period. And take a look here just in terms of the deviation in that vegetative index there, and you can see that northern Iowa, southern Minnesota is really starting to mature here. And from talking to a lot of producers, certainly it's getting to be at a time where people are going to start cutting in a big way. That would be one thing that may weigh on prices here as we move through the month. Certainly we know that early harvested acreage for corn and soybeans out of southern states has looked pretty good in terms of yield. The big question though now is, what's it going to look like when we get into northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, eastern Nebraska, that area that was hit pretty hard in terms of stress on this crop this summer here?
You know, we were planting late. We're starting to harvest a little bit late. Monday's report showed us a little bit behind on both corn and soybeans harvesting progress. But it looks like the weather for the next 10 to 14 days is pretty favorable for harvest progress. Might be a little bit wet over the weekend. Shouldn't cause too many delays. And then into next week, it looks like it's going to be dry and pretty warm.
Yeah, certainly. You know, kind of for the remainder of this week, we do have two, you know, typical reports that we get here during the week. Wednesday, we're going to be getting the EIA ethanol report. And we've seen a pretty strong ethanol crush margin right now. And we've seen that reflected a little bit in basis as well. Ethanol plants still remain relatively strong on bidding corn, so that could be a good thing to keep your eye on in your local market. But ultimately, we would expect to see another strong week in terms of ethanol production, just based on where that margin is. Thursday, we get the export sales report, and once again, I think soybeans is going to be a big focus. We've seen some large sales to the Chinese there recently, and wheat in particular. In terms of export inspections, they're looking very good right now. We'll see if that's delivered in another week worth of sales, though. Thanks a lot for joining us here on a Tuesday for Grain TV. We'll be tweeting live at that EIA ethanol report on Twitter. You can find us over there at Grain TV. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.